Wagwan viewers! It is me, Jack Cox. Don't laugh. And the Fate of the Furious, or Fast and Furious 8. Call it whatever you want to call it, but I personally think the Fate of the Furious is a much better title. Now, obviously, you guys wouldn't mind me talking about spoilers of the film, so let's get right into it. Now, I went into this film without seeing the previous installment in the franchise, Fast and Furious 7, but after hearing all the overwhelmingly positive things said about that, I expected the Fate of the Furious to live up to the standard it set. However, whilst watching it, I personally felt like it was one of the most passable films of the franchise, and therefore it was a step back. It wasn't a disappointment, but it was just a step back. The film starts off in Cuba with Dominic Toretto and Letty Ortiz on their honeymoon, and as traditional as these films are, it starts off with a street race. Then afterwards, Dom stumbles upon the film's antagonist, Cypher, who shows him something that makes him go rogue during a mission with his crew. And throughout the film, Dom's crew go up against Cypher and her organization as they plan to start World War III with the help from their old nemesis, Deckard Shaw. Deckard Shaw? However you say his first name. It delivered on the action and exhilaration of the races and the stunts as the franchise always has, even though the sequences are impossible to recreate in real life, but the franchise is meant to be taken this way. It's meant to follow the formula set by previous installments. For instance, in the end, when the crew and the government agents closest to them have a get-together and they say grace before they eat their meal, that reminded me of a Fast and Furious film I watched where it ended similarly, though that film had a similar premise where one of the crew members go bad, but that was for an entirely different reason. Now, as illogical in the best way this film is, there were some moments which I thought were inexcusably unintelligent, and it had a completely missed opportunity. One of those unintelligent things were how the antagonist from the 6th film, Owen Shaw, agreed to help his brother, Deckard/Deckard, with a side mission set by Dom to rescue his son, because yeah, Dom has a baby son, on the plane, when it's never really shown how he survived the explosion and why he's helping out, despite there being a montage cutting between shots of the climax and this confrontation scene in New York that happens between the climax and the second act. The missed opportunity that I think would have made this film more emotional and continue that streak from Fast and Furious 7 would be to have Brian O'Connor join in on the hunt for Dom Toretto and have like a personal confrontation between the two at some point, as he was closer to Dom than anyone in the crew other than Letty. Though I haven't seen Fast and Furious 7, so I couldn't see why, in terms of the story, that they couldn't do that. Except for Paul Walker's death, which had the writers changing the course of the story, which would impact the later installments of the franchise. I'd give this film a 3 out of 5. In the best way, me not being a fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, it's the same old this and same old that as me and everyone else would expect, but for the hardcore fans, it contains enough to satisfy their expectations as they'd expect. And that, maestros, concludes today's video, so thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like, share, subscribe, and until next time, peace!